Hello and welcome back to the 360 Perspective podcast with me, Trisha. It is another beautiful day for a wholesome conversation, and today we'll be talking about having difficult conversations. Yes, I know a lot of us would rather avoid having a difficult conversation or a challenging conversation rather than, facing the reality that, we need to tackle this. So would rather slide it under the carpet and have an elephant in the room rather than deal with the issues. So today we get to talk about that and reframe our mind and thinking concerning that. And to discuss that with me is a good friend of mine. His name is Jay Muya. Karibu sana.
Asante, Trisha.
It is so good to finally have you on the podcast.
I know. I can get crazy busy.
I know, yeah. You're a hard person to really get a hold of. So I'm really delighted and honored to have you on our podcast today to just get to pick your mind and just have you share your wisdom in this topic. Yeah. So maybe to start us off, you can just share a bit about yourself so that our audience can get to know you.
Okay. My name is Jay Muya. The identities I go with are numerous, so maybe starting with the most public work. I work with the government at NHIF in strategy and planning. I also do some work sometimes with Daystar University, teaching some courses and supervising thesis. I'm also a student there, so that's how come.
PhD.
Yes, kabisa. And I am now on a personal level. I am a husband, father of two, and yes, just a guy who loves God. Some people call me
Pastor. Yeah, you are lucky pastor. Tunangoja ile siku yenye utakubali mwito ya.
Nicola tu ndio imebaki lakini everything is pointing to
that direction.
Yes.
But Jay, you're such a fun person to be around, and I know you get to meet to quite a lot of young people.
Yes.
You can tell us what's one thing that either people don't know about you or one thing that you really love and enjoy doing.
Two things actually. So I really love dancing.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a bit of a surprise.
That's a very big surprise to most people.
Okay.
Until the music starts.
All right. I think I'll take that up as a challenge. Next time we're having an event, I'll make sure.
Yes.
If I happen to be the MC,
yes,
I will have to call you up there on the dance floor.
Kabisa. We were born ready. And then hiking.
Yeah.
So hiking is like, I think the thing I do to clear my mind. So after a crazy busy period, I usually want to hike to just earth.
Yeah,
yes,
you're the weird people anyway. Let me not call you weird because I also enjoy hiking, but I know a lot of people hiking is just a no-no for them.
I know.
It's a form of torture.
I know, it is torture, even for us who love hiking.
It's true. Every time I sign up for a hiking event, in the middle of it, I keep asking myself, why? Why did you do this to yourself? And then before you know it, you finish it. The next time you sign up for another one, you're like...
Actually, in the last hike I went to, I nearly died. As in, on a serious note, it's not.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Where was it?
Mount Kenya.
Wow. So that's a hard one.
I ran out of oxygen. The body started shutting down.
Wow.
Medics were called.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. So I think that's just a warning.
Well, that's part of it. Everyone experiences some of these things.
Hey, okay. I'm not sure what to comment about that, especially having watched, I think there's a movie called Mount Everest.
Yes.
Oof, after watching that movie, I was like, maybe I need to tone down on these hiking events.
Well, life is for the living.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I guess there's that part. The obituary will say they died having fun. Doing what they love doing. Yeah. But karibu sana.
Yeah.
And I want us to have this conversation about, just having difficult conversations.
Yes.
Especially for us Africans.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes.
For me, I've literally had to work out my muscle in that area of being comfortable with having difficult conversations. And for the longest time, I kept asking myself, is it a cultural or an African issue?
Yeah.
Or it's me?
No, it is a very cultural issue. actually across the world. And this is even based on facts, not just my thoughts. There are some quite a number of researches and surveys that have been done, and an interesting fact is that people who live more or less on the northern hemisphere, the European countries, the North Americas and all that, they tend to be more assertive than people who live in the southern hemisphere. Where southern hemisphere now will go with the Africas and the Asias, the Latin Americas, and all that. So it's the name given to it is cold culture versus warm culture personalities.
Okay. So who are the warm culture and who are the... So should you call them the cold culture? I'm not sure that to call them that because I know for me, when I was studying in Britain, oh my gosh, those guys were... You'd almost feel like they're aloof, very standoffish.
That is why it's called culture.
No, okay.
You see,
I hope you're the ones who are warm then.
Yes, we are the ones who are warm. So you see, for you as an African, going to such a culture where... someone invites you for lunch and then they tell you pay your own bill. You're like,
yes,
that's cold, man. That's
yes, that's brutal. You're
that's
like,
very
you're
brutal.
the one who invited me.
Yes.
The assumption is you'll pay the bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are those fundamental differences, and you'll notice that even in African context, it's not too different from Latin Americas and the India and Asia, where family is also a very big thing. It's more group versus individualistic.
Communal.
So the identity is more group identity than individualistic. So the fact that you have this common thread with a large number of people, being assertive in that group where you share an identity becomes a bit hard. It's the same way you're trying to be assertive to people whom you depend on. So...
Oof. Yeah, that's tough.
That shared identity is what I think even now makes it a little bit harder. To draw boundaries and to just speak directly at what you want to say.
And I think that makes a lot of sense because, gosh, I remember my experience in Britain. I kept wondering, goodness me, these people they're quite cold. You're in the bus, you're trying to have a conversation with someone and they'll just tell you, just can you tone it down? Just keep it to yourself. I'm having my quiet time.
Yes.
I'm like, gosh, in Africa, you tell somebody that?
Yes. And that's why you hear a lot of police being called on people by their neighbors. Because to them,
loud music and the parties and in Africa that's absurd.
In Africa, you hear music, you want to go and join. It's where are the tents? We want to come.
The more the merrier. You shop and you're like, I know my neighbor. I don't have to have an invite. I can just show up.
Yes.
Wow, I think that makes a whole lot of sense as to why we are the way we are, especially as Africans, and just that place of breaking through in having some of those difficult conversations. But I personally believe it's very important for us to learn how to have difficult conversations and to be comfortable with that, because I know a lot of times for us, the easiest option instead of having a difficult conversation, one, we run to ghosting. I don't know that you've ever been ghosted, but I have been ghosted before.
I have.
You've been ghosted?
I mean,
because in the place of relationship, let me tell you, Jay, that thing stings so badly, because one minute you think you are on the same page and things are flowing and running, and then the next thing, gosh, you're literally blue ticks everywhere, because right now in the era of social media,
I know.
You inbox them Facebook, you inbox them Instagram, you send a WhatsApp, everywhere, all across, dead silence.
And the weird thing is, I think I was actually the super ghoster. So...
Hey, wow. You're the people your line in heaven will be like this. Very long. These are the men.
No, I'll tell you why. You see, I think...
You're a recovering ghoster.
Yes, I'm a recovering ghoster. The good thing is there was an intervention.
You went through rehab?
I went through rehab. People looked for me and like, no, this is not cool what you're doing.
Yep. You're just breaking hearts out here in the streets.
And me, I thought, if this thing is not working, why why bother?
Why
Just
bother talking?
Keep walking, yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I know I speak for men.
Yeah, please preach on, brother. Preach on, because many ladies out here, I'm sure they can attest even today to this episode. Yeah. That ghosting thing, we have been through it.
Yes.
Yeah, these Nairobi grounds are hard. Very hard.
And funny enough, I sort of understand even why it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I think how we are created as men is we are very solution oriented. Mm-hmm. That's why as a lady, if you start saying something that is bothering you, you want me to listen. Mm-hmm. But me, I'm trying to figure out what's the solution. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, I'm not telling you to tell me the solution. I'm telling you for empathy, as in first feel with me. Mm-hmm. But for me, why are we feeling so we look for the solution? Mm-hmm. So how ghosting comes around is, for the man, it's like, okay, this is not working. So even if I came to you and told you it's not working, what difference does it make? Mm-hmm. Let me just, as in move on. Mm-hmm. And then also because we are not very emotionally set up to just want closures, to bring out things which might bring now hard conversations. Mm. So it's good we are even talking about this topic, because that's another part, a big reason for ghosting. It's that inability, or just not inability, but the fear, the anxiety that it causes, especially to men, that this conversation, how will it go? And why do I need to take myself through all that? Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know even in marriage, now the silent treatment kicks in,
Yes.
So you'd rather remain silent rather than talk about the different issues.
And we know naturally for men, most men keep things to themselves or talk to other men. And now, unfortunately, the way we talk to other men does not necessarily bring good solutions, because we have a tendency of making it egoistic. But so if a man comes and tells me, this is what is going on, like, but you're a man, why are you even feeling these things? As in, you man up, bwana.
Wow.
You guy, go and look for alcohol or something, as in, or go drive a fast car. As in, there are very many other coping mechanisms which we would rather go towards.
Yeah.
Hey, you'd rather climb Mount Kenya.
Okay, surely, or go to the gym,
Or go to the gym.
buff up instead of dealing with the exact issue at hand.
Yes.
That's interesting. So now that you have been a recovering ghoster,
Yes.
From your school of rehab, or,
Yes.
from your mentors
Yeah.
who have helped you walk through that journey of getting out of ghosting.
Yeah.
Instead of ghosting or silent treatment, what should one do?
So I think the initial thing one needs to do is take stock of their feelings. Just sit down, take pen and paper, and write down what you feel, why you think you feel it, what effect it has, what fears it brings up, what anxieties it brings up. And I know many of us don't like writing down such things. Just write them down and have a candle next to you after you've written them down. Burn the paper. For whatever reason we fear other people seeing our vulnerabilities, you can still find a safe space.
Yeah.
Because we make a lot of decisions because of feelings which we do not know how to deal with. We don't even know that we have those feelings. So the feelings is the initial part. Then now go to the facts. What are the facts of the situation? So because for men we tend towards the facts. For women tend towards the feeling. And now for ladies, feeling can be fact. As in, what you feel is actually what is factual. So then there becomes miscommunication, because I bring you flowers, you're feeling you've not put effort in getting those flowers. I know you've just bought them at the corner. I'm thinking, as in, it's not where I've bought them, it's the meaning I'm attributing to them. So we conflict based on expectations and how we look at it. So for you, the feeling that it's not meaningful makes you say the fact is you don't love me. I'm like, but I've brought you flowers. What do you mean I don't love you? And that's why you see very many men confused, especially even like now fathers. but I've paid school fees, I've paid rent. What do you guys mean I don't give you attention or I don't love you? But as a woman, you're like, but we don't feel that emotional connection. Like, what is emotional connection?
You're hardly ever there.
Yes. So once, whether you're a lady or a man, as in getting the feelings down and then the facts down. Then after you have that, then now draw up the plan on how to have this conversation. That's now the tact. And I think even just using the Bible as an example, there is a Nehemiah. He needed to leave where he was working, which was in a foreign land, and a foreign king, to go back to his home to rebuild. And those days, you didn't just approach the king. As in, if you approach the king even with sadness, you could easily be killed for just being sad. As in, the human life was very fickle to them. So what he did was use tact, as in how he spoke. He came with a lot of prostration and, as in, it's like he used poetry to get there. So what also we lack in terms of how we go about things is that use of tact, or even knowing this is the plan, this is how I'm going to have this conversation. So because once you know the feeling that you have and the facts that you have, and then now you have the plan for how to have the conversation, you start getting a little bit of confidence on approaching the person. But you see, that's a lot of work, as in putting down feelings, putting down facts, and creating a plan. So what is easier?
Ghosting.
Yes.
Which is quite unfortunate, but it's very true, because I think it demands a lot. Having any challenging conversation or difficult conversation demands a lot. You know, a lot of your time, a lot of self-reflection, just getting to see, perspectives also from the other person's lens, know, getting to just analyze, could there are things that I have missed out, instead of working with assumptions. So I think the whole work behind it is what makes us, and then our fear of, both rejection, but also the fear of confrontation, because you don't want somebody to, you don't want to ruin that friendship, but the moment it has to be ruined, because now, I mean, with rejection, then it means if I don't take rejection quite well, then it means that friendship has to come to an end. If you tell me you don't like me and I thought, we clicked and there was chemistry and we've spent time together, and then all of a sudden you tell me you're not interested.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, when you approach me and you tell me that, I'll drop off from that friendship, know. And I think now we fear those consequences. Yeah.
And you see, that's the problem of now having things as either this or that, as in either A or B, black or white. When in essence life is very complex and it's made up of very many small moving parts, the granularization of life. So and I've seen it in relationships where people have this thing, or you either love me or I'm stepping, or you have these ultimatums on each other, or the deal breakers, which are very, not necessarily, as in it doesn't define the whole person, but we use those as the main gauge of the person. And remember, human beings are dynamic. We change every day.
Yeah, it's true. And well, for me, let me just speak for myself. I realize, as I journey through life, I keep growing. There's an aspect of growth and maturity that happens in different phases. So I believe there's a phase of me when, if that would happen, then it means we're not going to be friends. But right now, I'm at a phase of my life whereby I genuinely appreciate people who are able to hold difficult conversations with me. If anything, I realize that our friendship grows to another level, or we grow much more deeper in our relationship and intimacy when we are able to have difficult conversations and move past it and still proceed on with the relationship. It doesn't end from that place of, we had a difficult conversation, it was so, it left a bad taste on the mouth. And so that means the end of things, So I think, well, there's that place of maturity, but I'm also embracing the fact that, you have no control over the outcome.
Yes.
Plus, you can't assume what the other person will, behave.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, people are different. As you're saying, someone might be having very totally different thoughts from what you think they have. So even when you have a sit down, it can either go,
Either way.
very well, very neutrally, or very bad.
Yeah.
So But it's life. You walk on water, as in there are situations which come and you're like, whichever way you have to get out of the boat and walk on water.
It's true.
If you float, okay. If you sink,
you try and swim back up.
You'll swim,
you'll swim. It will take time, but you'll swim back up.
Yes.
Yeah, I know it's so funny because there's a post I remember reading. Ghosting someone can be a way of saying, instead of ghosting, you can just be upfront and tell someone, this relationship is not working for me, which is usually very hard for a lot of people to say. Or I don't like you as much as you like me. Ooh. Yeah. That stings. That stings a lot. But honestly, for me, I would rather you tell me that.
Yeah.
I endure the pain and I navigate through my emotions and feelings rather than, either not being upfront about it, because now, we go into the whole questions of, this person led me on, or I assumed they like me because, we kept hanging out. So I think, just being honest, especially when you feel like the other person is heavily invested and they're the ones trying to reach you on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram, like all possible medium platforms, text, calls, but you genuinely know you're not interested. I think it's better to just let them know, hey, I don't like you as much as you like me, which is hard.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
It is very
But you can also figure out how to say it. Maybe initially, you're more, you'd rather build on a friendship first, rather than investing so much on your emotions or feelings. But I think just being clear on what you said, just the place of, you talked about tact, you talked about feelings.
Yes, and facts.
Yes. So I think just navigating those three. And then there's that question of, you're hard to talk to and I can't be honest.
And it's true. There are people who are hard to talk to and your honesty will be misconstrued.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, like, I think just even going back to the example that you're giving, someone likes you, but you don't like them as much as, as a human being, maybe even just speaking as me, I feel Trisha likes me. And there's this part of me that likes her as, whether it's as a friend or, I don't have any issue against her. And so that part of me doesn't want to see her hurt, and especially by me, because I know if I tell her this, she'll really get hurt. So it's easier to try and dissipate by not being there, ghosting, trying to be busy. But as you've said, sometimes it's easier just to be forthright.
Yeah.
Which now I think getting an example from parenting. So parenting is interesting nowadays. You have to do classes. So I did a parenting class.
No, it's not just really parenting. Help. Adulting 101. You need a whole lot of lessons for them.
So one of the things that we were taught about disciplining in your children is have parameters, as in tell them, if you do this, you get a warning. If you repeat it, you get a second warning. By the third time, you get a kiboko. But after the kiboko, I hug you. And I sit down with you. I affirm you that this is a fact. I know this is how you're feeling. You're feeling like daddy doesn't like me. And you won't want to talk to daddy again. But this is the fact. And I think if we were to approach difficult conversations in that manner, that I'm coming at you objectively.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. And even if it's personal, just know that I care about you, as in I'm not doing this with malice. I know there are people who would want to do it with malice. But here we are speaking about people who genuinely don't want to hurt the other person. Just make it very plain and clear that by me saying this, it's nothing to do with diminishing who you are or personality. And honestly, I care for you. But this fact and this feeling just makes me not want to pursue this direction of this type of relationship. I think having those difficult conversations over and over enables people to see things from each other's perspective.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think it helps, in as much as there will be a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
It's better than you trying to figure out, why did Jay stop calling? Why is he not picking? Why am I being blue ticked?
It's true. It's true. And I think there's, but anyway, I realize some things are inevitable. We have to live with them. For example, ghosting. I don't think we'll ever, finally get to a place where, you can say you'll never be ghosted or you'll never ghost somebody else because of, different variables, like we've said, that people who are just difficult to talk to, or they will twist the whole story. So there are moments when really you weigh and you realize, okay, is this person, do they carry the capacity to see the objectivity in this conversation?
Yes.
Or is this someone who will twist everything, and manipulate, and that kind of person it's not. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time.
And that's why for me, I believe there is need to start training people from a young age about now facing their feelings and knowing how to express them. Because you see, if we don't do that, then we have, let's say even in the example of separation, for a couple who have children. See, if people have the habit of ghosting, co-parenting will be extremely hard.
Very.
So it will be a disadvantage to the kids. But it's possible for couples to separate and still communicate for the sake of the children. That way, the fact that we've separated doesn't mean we might be enemies in our own way, but we are not projecting it. But we are able to objectively carry through with our parental obligations without the kids starting to feel as though it's their fault or like they're in the middle of a fight or using the kids to fight each other. So, but if you're not trained to face these difficult conversations from the word go, from even preteen, it becomes very difficult as an adult to see how you're going to do it.
Yep.
Yes, and to be objective about it.
Yep. Yeah, very true, very true. And, you initially, when you were starting, you talked a bit about, just men and their feelings. And there's this famous phrase that us ladies love using.
Yes.
We need to talk. Like in your talking, it never yields anything from a man. If anything, you guys now pull away completely. So first of all, why does that happen? And then secondly, is there another phrase that us ladies can use perhaps?
Absolutely. Let me tell you.
Let's talk is not working.
You remember the is it last year when we started hearing the US said all indications are that Russia is going to invade Ukraine.
Yes.
You see that statement, if you are in Ukraine and you hear...
If you are smart.
Yes. All indication is that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. What you do is you start barricading your roads and your nini. So that's the same feeling we need to talk has on men. It's okay, this is war.
Yeah, defense.
So where are all the loopholes? What have I done in the last few weeks? Yes, as in let me start looking for an excuse or a reason or, let me get my facts right.
Although the let's talk, it depends on the intonation. There's let's talk and then there's we need to talk.
We need to talk is the one I'm talking about.
We need to talk.
Because we need to talk. I don't think the body language is usually any different. We need to talk. Even over text.
Yeah. Ooh, kwanza the text one. Anyway, none of them is better.
Yes. But yeah, I think if you say we need to talk, then just say what we need to talk about. Not for me to prepare my defense, but just for me to be in the light about what you're feeling. And also try to figure out, okay, why would you be feeling that way? And we need to talk should be more of, so you come objectively, I'll come objectively also. Let's address the issue, not each other. That's difficult because the issue sometimes it's just each other. As in, I mean, if we are in a relationship and you don't communicate, you are ideally the issue, but we can try to separate the personality from the issue and say, Jay, you're not really good at communication. You see, if I use that statement, I've separated Jay and communication. But if I say, Jay, you don't communicate, it's I, Jay, yeah, or Jay, you are a liar, as opposed to Jay, I feel this issue is not well represented, or there are facts which are not right in what has been said about this issue. It's sort of that stacked. In a way, it allays fears. And I can tell you something about men. Men respond better to motivation than instruction.
Break that down.
So the men who respond to instruction are in the army and in the police force. But on a normal, men have egos and pride. And no man wants to be told what to do by anyone, whether it's the spouse, the partner, the person they're dating, their children, their boss. And that's why you'll see, even I think in the Bible, King Solomon talked about it, when a man is in love, because you see that comes with more of motivation.
Okay, yes. The love is the motivation.
The love is the motivation, and the lovey-doveys and the good things and the sweet things that they're told and done for. That makes them...
The endorphins and,
exactly,
serotonin, all these chemicals.
Yes. And you've heard stories like even in Kenya, in Nakuru, of someone like Egerton. Building a whole castle because of
love.
Love. And there are very many stories of men who've done very interesting things because of that. But when it comes to instruction, if you were to come and tell him, I need you to build this, I was like, why? Who are you? Why are you telling me that? So in a relationship, when men start feeling like they're being given instruction, they'll look at you as a boss, as a partner, or as a teacher, or as their parent. And they will do the necessary, which is to compete with you. Like you could even say something as simple as, these dishes need to be washed. Like, oh, okay, so now you're giving me instructions in my own house. Yet you're just saying, as a matter of fact, it's true. The dishes need to be washed.
They need to be washed.
And there's someone who gave a very funny example. A gas cylinder, the big one, is usually 13 kgs. And men struggle to carry it. But a man will lift a lady who is upwards of 60 kgs without thinking much about it.
During the wedding day, up in the air.
Yes, very quickly. Because motivation versus instruction, as in...
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So I think even when it comes to difficult conversations, the motivation aspect of, we are talking for what, as in, what's the end product? Okay. What are we trying to do? And also, if you're a lady, let the man determine what would be the end result, as in what would make them feel like they've achieved something with talking. Because as I've said, as men, we want solutions, hard, factual solutions. As ladies, there's a part of empathy and feeling that we've actually solved the issue. It might not be solved, but the fact that it's been given attention and a plan and all that, it's usually like 80% done, that actually we've talked and I feel we are somewhere.
Okay, so for ladies, instead of just leaving that question of we need to talk, you need to just break it down and add what exactly are we talking about.
Yes, and I think it helps first to express yourself, as in what you're feeling. You see, like for me, I mean, because ghosting was, I didn't even know I was ghosting, as in life moves on. I don't feel
you
like
and many
texting.
Other brothers.
Yes, very many of us. Because we don't know what's the effect. And I'll even give you an interesting one, and especially in church, I've seen it. A guy hangs out with ladies. Unbeknowing to him, by being good to each one of them, because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're really good to someone, they'll start thinking, okay, maybe it's me he's being good to only.
Yeah.
Then they discover, oh, okay, he's being good also, really good to that other girl. Okay, and the other one. If you ask that guy, him is just being himself. And now the more he's good to you and you tell him, and he's like, okay, this is good. So he does it even more. But how it's now perceived on the other side is this guy is playing us. As in, why is he doing all this for every one of us? But when you express it, like, when you treat me this way, this is what I feel. Then the guy is in the know, like, oh, okay. Because me, I was just doing it as, So when now in relationships, that's now in a general part. In relationships, there are very many times, and I'm speaking now as a man, men do things which they don't even think it has any effect. But for you as a lady, you're like, why is he doing, why? And then for you, you go and talk to the other ladies instead of asking the man, just express to him that this is how I'm feeling, or when you do this is how I feel. So this we need to talk. Then it comes from a point of, I know I've communicated, this is how I feel. I would want to hear what you think or feel about it. And most of the time you'll get a very summarized answer. But that summarized answer can always be unpacked. And it's a first step.
Yeah.
But expressing yourself, not just saying we need to talk. Expressing yourself about how you feel and why that feeling is what has brought the need to want to talk.
Yeah.
And also what you want to get out of this talking.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's important.
Yeah, which leads me to the other question of, is there a place for preparing well before having a difficult conversation?
Yes. And I believe people need to tell each other so that I tell you, or rather, let me use the example of, in a relationship, it's easy to tell someone, this is the way I'm feeling, so I'd want us to sit down and unpack this and think about it so that we can get to this point. Now, in authoritative relationships, like now, maybe you and your boss, that's a bit difficult to come and tell your boss, we'll need to talk because of this, and this is the outcome. So that one, it's more of you preparing. But also you can still preempt them by just expressing that you'd want to have a meeting with them concerning this and this and this. That way you're not ambushing them. Because I've also seen cases where people just go either ambush their bosses or their parents that have come, Dad, because I want to tell you this and this and this and this and this. When I was young, this is what you did, and this is what.
And they are clueless.
They are absolutely clueless.
They're not even mentally ready for all that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but preempting helps.
Yeah.
I think. So that's the place where I would say prepare. But now, for you as a person who needs to make that difficult conversation, I would say follow that routine I had said at the beginning.
Yes.
Put down your feelings, then put down your facts, then put down your plan, the tact that you're going to use to have that difficult conversation.
Yeah, I like that. And maybe just to add on that, I think for me personally, especially being a believer, I realize there's also that place of prayer, because there are moments when it's a really hard conversation that you need to have, especially like, let's say with authority, or mostly authority, or even just people who are close to you, and I need to move past this, so there are moments when I'm like, God, it's going to take a whole lot of guts, a whole lot of boldness, and a whole lot of confidence plus wisdom in order to navigate through this conversation without feelings, especially as ladies, because it's usually hard for us to distinguish between facts and feelings, so just to have a sober mind and have the wisdom to know how do I separate the facts from the feelings, and be able to navigate through this conversation in a healthy way, whereby the other person is not injured because I walked into that conversation when I'm angry or when I'm mad. And then I know I also just take a bit of time. I normally give it time before I have that conversation, which sometimes it can play for the good or for the bad, because now time, I can never really pinpoint how long. I need that time to, be able to deal with my feelings fast. But the longer you take, by the time you're telling that other person, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I thought you're okay. We were with you today morning. You were laughing. Kume, you're not okay, you know. But for me, I normally say I'd rather deal with my feelings, especially if it's anger or disappointment. I'd rather deal with that fast, so that I'm not bringing that to the table. I've already dealt with it. What I'm bringing to the table is facts and the feelings that are now past. We're not dealing with anger anymore at the moment. And then also just seeking counsel from other people, so that they can help you see things from a different lens, give you other perspectives that perhaps you may have missed.
Very good.
And you're walking into that conversation thinking, they are the ones who are wrong, they did this and that, and yet perhaps you're even the one in in error.
And I was actually to add, now when you are analyzing your facts and feelings, so if you take them as a package, under that package, as in you place them on, now what you've said, prayer, wise counsel, and now what would say call, now especially for facts, research. Because at the end of the day, we are biological beings. There are sometimes you have feelings actually just based on hormones. Other times based on how tired or how hungry you are.
Just speak to us gender. This gender. Just speak to us directly. Don't say hormones. Stop going round. Just speak to this gender.
I speak to you directly.
Speak to us directly. Tell us, yes, your hormones sometimes are the ones that are talking.
Yes, and it's just how we are created.
Yeah.
And it's not just women, as in even for men, as in there are a lot of factors which make, I mean, there's a very big difference between a man who has money and who doesn't have money.
We talked about that in one of the episodes when you're like, men, it's like the identity comes from money. Yes, a broke man and a rich man. Or when he has money and when he doesn't have money.
Yes, especially just the same people. Person in those two different situations.
Two different people.
Yeah. Yeah, someone will shout at you and you're wondering, Allah. As someone wronged you, like, as in I also don't understand why I'm
and I say truly brokenness.
Yes,
the pocket is
brokenness,
empty.
Yes. Yeah, because for a man it makes them feel very hopeless. Yeah, and as men we need power, and money is power. As in money gives people power.
That's been interesting to learn about that.
Yes. So, and that's what I'm saying now, when you're processing your feelings and facts, you process them. There's that part of meditation and prayer. That's now to yourself and to God. And then now wise counsel, as in talk to someone else, as in this is how I'm feeling and these are the facts on it. How do you think I process this? Or do you think, as in just get wise counsel from someone and then now use facts as in the knowledge that already scientific knowledge or empirical knowledge, try to read books and why do I act the way I act? And that way you sort of have a good product, so that by the time you're even planning the tact or the plan on how you're going to have the conversation, you're already clear in your mind that this conversation, I've actually covered all the bases of why I'm feeling this way and how these facts came about. Yeah, but because we tend to, as men, we rarely, as I've said, the wise counsel part, yo tunarukanga. For prayer, yes, we do pray, we do talk to God and ask God and stuff like that. But for wise counsel, I've realized, men, we tend to give each other bad counsel. And I think it's a place of older men to actually help younger men process things.
Yeah, true.
So which means older men need to really pursue wisdom. Yes.
Wow, that's a very big challenge.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I want us to talk about, in the place of having a challenging conversation, there's a place of assertiveness. But I realize some people confuse assertiveness and aggressiveness, so they think they are being assertive, but in reality, oh my gosh, you're just like, do you understand how aggressive you are? Because then you're coming into that conversation with everything is about you, because the aspect of aggressiveness, everything revolves around yourself and how you want things to work for you, versus being very objective about the issue and dealing with the issue, talking about the issue at hand without, wanting things to favor, your end.
Yes.
So I think, maybe share a bit about just that place. How do you build assertiveness without being aggressive?
It's interesting. I've just remembered a case of two friends of mine who are married, and I know both of them. So they just had an altercation or something the man didn't do. So I overheard the lady, now she was speaking to a friend saying, nimemsomea, he better act up. So I was like, so and you hope that will give results.
That will work.
So I eventually asked her, as in, I heard you say this, sorry to intrude and all that, but is he like, as in he needs to know. So like, this is something you've done before. Yeah. Has it bore any results? So after we had a conversation, she realized it's
never
not necessarily doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
The guy will look remorseful and all that, but now that's what I was telling you, that thing of instruction. The mode of, okay, so you're making noise at me. Okay. So just for peace, I will appease you. I'll try to do 1-2 things, but that will not lead to transformation because there's no motivation. So assertiveness is different from arrogance. It's different from shouting. It's different from prideful talk. I feel assertiveness is stating your feelings and facts and objectively sticking to them, because you've already processed them. You've already sought wisdom about them. You've already done your research about them. So when you're bringing them and when you're coming to say, this is the direction I think I need to head or we need to head, is you've already done the background work. And so you can actually be assertive without shouting, without intruding on the other person's conversation, as in you're not, because also there are people who feel if you're talking and I cut you in, I'm now putting my foot down, I'm being assertive. You can actually let someone talk, and once they finish, you bring it back to where you need it to be. And I usually use the example of automated response. So there are companies where when you call the customer care, for this language, press 1. If you don't, it comes back to the same thing. For this language, press 1. So assertive is being like that voice. That this relationship needs more communication. So someone will talk, but I do this, but I do this. But at the end of the day, you will remain calm and you will still come back to, I still say this relationship needs more communication because of this and this and this. So for me, assertiveness is having your feelings and facts correct and knowing how to steer back to the direction that you want it to go. And as we've said, the cold climate cultures, people being assertive is, I don't want to talk to you right now. There's nothing wrong with you. I actually don't even know you. We are strangers on the bus. So it's nothing personal. I've just stated a fact. Is just you do your thing. Yes, I'm just not interested. And that has no bearing on you. It has actually nothing to do with you. It's just me. I just want my space. And I think if people were to get to that point of assertiveness, even in marriage, because there's a lot of back and forth, I think, in marriage.
There's now the aggressiveness and then passive aggressiveness,
yes,
which is also quite huge.
Because also in marriage, people want to control outcomes. Because people come in with predetermined outcomes. But that's not how life is. And it becomes very difficult when your predetermined outcome is not achieved.
Yep.
So you either get very frustrated or you really try to control it. But I think for me, marriage is the creation of a third new thing. Not necessarily the merging of your expectations and the other expectations and, just still being there. Because then where is the place of growth? That means if you got married at 20, the same expectations you had at 20 are the ones you have at 40 and 60. That's not how life is. It's about evolving with time.
Yes, and changing and growing.
Yes. So that place of assertiveness in marriage is also the place of still maintaining that individuality as both of you and communicating that individuality in the most objective, most loving, most sensible way that you can communicate to someone else whom you care about and still want the best for them. So for me, in my own marriage, I actually like hearing new stories or new things that my wife is pursuing, but not necessarily trying to be like her or wanting her to be like me. Kumach vitenge. I know there is that preaching of you guys even look suras zimeanza kufanana.
Yes.
We have that thing. And I think in some cases that's the thing that gets people bored, as in because you become so similar to each other and so predictable to each other. Like I know how this conversation go. I know how you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
But where you give people space to be themselves and to create something for themselves, it helps. So that assertiveness is basically just knowing your feelings, your facts, and coming back to them,
Yeah.
even when it's in the middle of a storm. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I've let me just echo is just that place of understanding that you have no control over the outcome.
Yes.
I think that's a reality that we have to face, even while just processing and reflecting, preparing yourself before having that difficult conversation, knowing that you have no control over the outcome. Yours is just to relay your feelings, relay the facts, relay what the issue at hand is, but beyond that, you. Literally, for me, I always say when I'm having a difficult conversation, I'm removing the bullet out of my heart.
Yes.
I'm removing the toxicity that will end up building within me, the resentment, the anger, the frustration. That's what I'm doing. I'm removing it out of my heart. Whatever will be done from there on, I have absolutely no control. And I think also just that place of empathy as well. Just being able to empathize. With the other person, which I think some of those perspectives are what you can be able to get when you seek wise counsel from other people. They can be able to share with you and give you different angles of how to think about the issue before you go discuss about it. And as we wind this down, I want us to talk about having difficult conversations with authority.
Yeah.
So authority being parents, being our bosses, being people who have some sort of level of power over us.
Yeah.
But how do we navigate through those conversations in an honorable way, in a respectful way, and at the end of the day, build that relationship instead of breaking it down? Because a lot of times, especially with Gen Z, Gen Z speaks their mind as it is, with whether you're a boss, whether you're the parent, they don't have so much of the hierarchy in terms of, I need to, prepare myself before I have this conversation. It's like, I'll speak my mind.
Yeah.
If I'm tired of you, I will walk out and I will leave that job. But I don't think that's really the healthy way of dealing with issues and matters.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate difficult conversations with superiors?
I think first is the recognition that anyone in authority, and especially direct authority over you, can decide whichever way they want to make your life either good or miserable.
Miserable.
Yes.
Yeah. If it goes bad, it's going to be miserable.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know we are now at an age of options.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to say, the boss will make my life miserable. Me, I'm out. As in, it's easy. And unfortunately, with that a lot of movement around, you never create that muscle of taking the bull by its horns. And one day you will meet a bull where you will try to get out and it will floor you. And that's sometimes things that lead to anxieties and depression even. Because we never created that muscle of grit and just, taking the bull by its horns. So I would say first have the recognition that this authority can actually be detrimental to you in as much as it can be good to you. So which means approach the authority knowing that in as much as this person is doing things or has done things which you do not agree with, they got there because of something. There is something they know, there's some experience they have that you don't. Because I see many people, Kenyans especially, we make a lot of fun about politicians, MPs and all that. And they might say very weird things. But I can tell you for sure, by the time they have all those people supporting them, and they even have the system that they run with accepting them, there's something they know that you don't. So that recognition means that when you're now dealing with the authority, you come at them with tact. You first come and it's like soften them up first. In the ancient days, you came to a king with a gift. That was to appease the king. That was to get on the good side of the king. in the office, the way of getting a gift to a king is either come with good news or come with finished work, or
Yes, deliver. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because delivery gives you a higher, like a voice in the work organization.
Good. Yes. And you see, when you deliver, you're earning your seat at the table. There's an African saying that if a young man washes his hands, he will be able to eat with the elders. So as a young person, you have to wash your hands by if it's at the workplace, delivering. If it's your parents, do good to them first. Bring gifts, buy them something, as in, don't just show up and you're coming to tell them. They've seen more, they've experienced more. And so once you get to that point of you've been given a seat at the table, again, using our formula, feeling, fact, tact, make the conversation with tact. First, put out what you might have come for, and let them say their point of view. Don't just bombard them with from A to Z, as in let them give you their opinion on some things before you go to. But when you say this, it's like now if I give an example about a parent, or so let's say I sit with my father and I want to tell him, by you not being at home for 3 months or 4 months, this is what it made me feel. Is you first ask them, what was your experience being away from home for 3 months? What did you miss? What was your, So for them, they'll tell you their part of the story. So then you let for me, what that did to me, this and this and this and this. So you see, that way you sort of have given them both of you have, it's like you've gotten some sort of footing on this conversation. So it's not just one person coming to pour out or just push an agenda. The other person also feels, okay, maybe I have a part to play in this. So if it's maybe with your boss or someone like that in authority, they will now see it from their point of view, because you've already given them the chance first to talk about that particular general issue. And you've known their way of thinking. So you're even coming in now to just see where you plug in, because sometimes even knowing the way of thinking helps you understand, okay, so that's why we are doing this, and that's why you did this, that's how you spoke to me this way. So even when you're telling them now, so on my side, this and this and this, they will be in a better position to understand also for you where you're coming from. And it will be easier now to have a conversation. But if you just come and say, they'll either rebuff you, like, okay, that's a non-issue. Or they will be very surprised, like, okay. Or you can even decide to get angry, like, as in, like, who are you really to come and tell me how to do my work? Yes. Kwanza, you go back and bring me the other report that I had asked for. So it has very many different results. But I think if you first come and butter them up, and you earn the place of conversation, earn a seat.
Yes. For me, I always say let the results and the workspace speak for you. Because if your results, you always deliver, and then automatically there's a level of favor you earn in the organization, because your work cannot be questioned. But then if your work is questionable, how do you earn a seat at the table? Because already there are so many flaws that will be pointed out that will work against you. So there's no way chances of you winning that conversation, or hopefully, because I think in the workspace, it's usually you want the outcome to work in your favor. That's why you want to have that conversation.
And sometimes you even feel aggrieved. And after you have a conversation with the person in authority, you actually get a totally different perspective about the whole thing.
It's true.
So you're like, okay, I'm the one who totally misunderstood this thing or overthought this thing. And also now for Gen Z, I would say, if you make this a habit, it helps you when the day comes where you decide, okay, this is not working for me. You it's actually something that you'll not regret. You will say, okay, I've tried. I've actually sat down with the boss and I've done this, or I've sat down with this person. So me moving, it's objective. It's just the best thing for me. And you'll have created muscle about how to handle particular levels of authority. So even wherever else you're going, you're going to come in at a higher level that I already know what I want, what works for me, what doesn't work for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. So as we learn this, I don't know if you have any parting shot.
I definitely do. My parting shot is still back to from early childhood. Yesterday I went to the pharmacy with my daughter, and there were some Skittles on the counter, and she was like, "Skittles? Daddy, can we buy Skittles? We need to get the Skittles." Like, so, young girl, what did we come to buy? Medicine. Were we coming to buy Skittles? No. So are we going to stick to buying medicine? But Daddy, but I kept bringing her back to, this is what we came to do. And I let her sort of make the decision. Why are we not buying Skittles at night? Because of sugar. What does sugar does do to you if you take it before you sleep? It will make me sick. Okay. So what do? Okay, let's buy the medicine. Then we can buy Skittles later. Yes. Tomorrow or over the weekend. So you see, that training of train young people on how to make decisions, a trail of thought. Train them on how to go about packaging their feelings and their facts, and also the tact that they're going to use to express themselves. That way, by the time we have adults, and this training it goes throughout in life, even for adults. So for me, it's just the insistence that whether you're an adult, whether you're a child, train yourself, create that discipline of processing your feelings and facts and thoughts, and understanding why you're doing what you're doing, why you're not doing the way what you're not doing, why you have energy about this and you don't have energy about that, and know how to express it to the people who matter.
Yes.
That will help you across all facets of life.
Yes. I absolutely agree. I think it's a tact that needs to be practiced earlier on and continue building that muscle, because I think in every phase of life, it's something that will always come up, it's very difficult to live life without conflict. So whatever stage of life, conflict will always arise, and you have to have the tact to know how to navigate conflict in a healthy way versus ghosting and running away or silent treatment, especially in places where you genuinely have just walked past it, or rather moved past it, if you just had that conversation. But I think for me, some of the key things I'm picking from today's conversation is one, a place of preparing yourself well before having the conversation. The place of the first one is
so there's that processing your feelings.
Yes, processing your feelings, and then
getting your facts right about the situation that you want to talk about,
and then finally
the tact. Yes. The
plan.
Yes.
What's your plan?
How you're going to express, converse about, make this difficult conversation.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like those mostly, there's that place of you preparing yourself, but also the other person, allowing them to also prepare themselves, communicating. So not saying we need to talk. We need to talk about what? There are a million and one things, So you're leaving somebody in a limbo trying to figure out what exactly is it. So being able to allow the other person time to also prepare themselves, just saying, hey, I need us to talk about these 1, 2, 3 things, so that they also get room to prepare themselves. But I also realize it's also key to know, to just ask of them, is this a good time? Don't just bombard somebody out of nowhere. They just walked into the house, and then the next thing, you're there unleashing all this myriad of issues. So I think allowing the other person time to prepare themselves, by also asking them, is this a good time? After you've mentioned we need to talk about 1, 2, 3 things, is this a good time? Would this be a good time, or when can we talk about this?
And just to add in something, I think it's worth mentioning, is if you get to a place where you feel it's chronic, that you can't have these conversations, or you keep feeling in a particular way and you're not able to move past it. It's important to get clinical help. As in, see a shrink, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. It helps. It helps actually to seek that type of professional help.
Yes.
When it comes to processing how you behave, and you're not able to get past particular things. Personally, I have had to go to see therapist. Because I got to a point where I was losing concentration. As in, I was just...
I thought it's for chronic ghosting. No, I'm kidding.
No, that one, there was just an intervention. A group of people came together
and they
to tell
told you
me,
they had truth.
yes,
you cannot continue doing this. It's wrong.
It's wrong. But for this one, I had to check myself in. It was difficult because that was the first time. I mean, I'm an African man. How do you walk to a therapist's office and say, boss, unajua?
And those are some of the misconceptions you need to break. You know, that it's absolutely normal. Even me, every now and then I check in with a therapist, not because I have any issues or problems going on, but just to have that third party who's a professional help me process some of the things in my life, especially the key critical things and areas in my life.
And actually what came out of it is we even did a personality test. We did a lot of personality tests with him, and it came down to an issue of personality and an issue of childhood trauma.
And that's a huge one.
It's a very huge one. And I was, what I thought was the issue was not the issue. Like, so when he's telling me what the issue is, like, no, me. Because the issue was I have low self-concept. Like, me, I'm a very confident guy in myself. Like, no.
That's what we think.
That's what we think. So, it has really helped me in terms of also seeing the things I was doing to avoid difficult conversation or to avoid aggrieving people, to just be on the good side of everyone. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You have to get to a point where people have to know what your stand is. And in a good manner.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for honoring us with your time, with your wisdom, with your different perspectives, being a parent, being a husband, being a boss, we are truly, truly grateful that you could share, your nuggets of wisdom and your different perspectives about this topic of having and navigating difficult conversations. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, you can go ahead and subscribe to the 360 Perspective podcast. We look forward to having you again in our next conversation. And Jay will still be our guest as we continue with the conversation, because one of the things about a lot of us who fear having difficult conversation, it's because many of us are people pleasers. And so that's one of the conversations that we'll be having with our guest, Jay. But for today, it's a wrap. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great, wonderful time, and see you in our next episode. Bye.